Sai Satcharitra, Chapter 4. Sai Baba's first advent in Shirdi. In the last chapter, I described the circumstances which led me to write Sai Satcharitra. Let me now describe the first advent of Sai Baba in Shirdi. Missions of the Saints. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that whenever there is a decay of dharma, righteousness, and an ascendancy of unrighteousness, I manifest myself, and for the protection of the virtuous, the destruction of the vicious, and for the establishment of righteousness, I manifest myself in age after age. This is the mission of the Lord, and the sages and saints, who are his representatives and who appear here at proper times, help in their own way to fulfill that mission. For instance, when the twice born, example, the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas, neglected their duties, and when the Sudras tried to usurp the rights of the higher classes, when spiritual receptors are not respected but humiliated, when nobody cares for religious instructions, when everybody thinks himself very learned, when people begin to partake of forbidden foods and intoxicating drinks, when under the cloak of religion people indulge in malpractices, when people belonging to different sects fight amongst themselves, when Brahmins fail to do Sandhya adoration and the Orthodox their religious practices, when yogis neglect their meditation, when people begin to think that wealth, progeny, wife are their sole concern, and thus turn away from the true path of salvation, then do saints appear and try to set matters right by their words and action. They serve us as beacon lights and show us the right path, and the right path for us to follow. In this way, many saints, viz. Nivritti, Jnanadev, Muktabai, Namdev, Gora, Gunai, Ekanath, Tukaram, Narahari, Narsibai, Sajan Kasi, Sawata, Ramdas, and various others did appear at various times to show the right path to the people, and so presently came Sri Sai Baba of Shirdi. Shirdi, a holy tirth. The banks of the Godavari River in the Ahmednagar district are very fortunate, for they gave birth and refuge to many a saint, prominent amongst them being Jnaneshwar. Shirdi also falls in the Koparagon Taluka of Ahmednagar district. After crossing the Godavari River at Koparagon, one gets the way to Shirdi. When you go 3 miles, you come to Nimgon, from whence Shirdi is visible. Shirdi is as famous and well known as other holy places like Gangapur, Narasimhawadi, Audumbar on the banks of Krishna River. As a devotee, Damaji flourished in and blessed Mangal near Pandharpur, as Samat Ramdas at Sajjangad, as Sri Narasimha Saraswati as Saraswati Vadi. So Sainath flourished at Shirdi and blessed it. Personality of Sai Baba. It is on account of Sai Baba that Shirdi grew into importance. Let us see what sort of personage Sai Baba was. He conquered his samsar, worldly existence, which is very difficult and hard to cross. Peace or mental calm was his ornament, and he was a repository of wisdom. He was the home of Vaishnava devotees, most liberal like Karna, amongst liberals, the quintessence of all essences. He had no love for perishable things and was always engrossed in self-realization, which was his sole concern. He felt no pressure in the things of this world or of the world beyond. His antarang heart was as clear as a mirror, and his speech was always raining nectar. The rich or poor people were the same to him. He did not know or care for honor or dishonor. He was the Lord of all beings. He spoke freely and mixed with all people, saw the actings and dancings of Nautch girls, and heard Gajal songs. Still, he swerved not an inch from samadhi, mental equilibrium. The name of Allah was always in his lips. While the world awoke, he slept, and while the world slept, he was vigilant. His abdomen inside was as calm as the deep sea. His ashram could not be determined, nor his actions could be definitely determined. And though he sat in one place, he knew all the transactions of the world. His darbar was imposing. He told daily hundreds of stories. Still he swerved not an inch from his vow of silence. He always leaned against the wall in the masjid, or walked morning, noon, and evening towards Lendi and Chavadi. Still, he at all times abided in the self. Though a siddha, he acted like a sadhaka. He was meek, humble, egoless, and pleased all. Such was Sai Baba, and as Sai Baba's feet threaded the soil of Shirdi, it attained extraordinary importance. As Jnaneshwar elevated Alandi, Ekanath did to Python, so Sai Baba raised Shirdi. Blessed are the grass leaves and stones of Shirdi, for they could easily kiss the holy feet of Sai Baba and take their dust on their head. Shirdi became to us devotees another Pandharpur, Jagannath, Dwarka, Kashi, Rameshwar, Badri Kedar, Nasik, Trayambakeshwar, Ujjain, and Mahakaleshwar or Mahabaleshwar, Gokar. Contact of Sai Baba and Shirdi was like our Veda and Tantra. It quieted our samsara, world consciousness, and rendered self-realization easy. The darshana of Sri Sai was our yoga sadhana, and talk to him removed our sins. Shampooing his legs was our bath in Triveni Prayag, and drinking the holy water of his feet destroyed our desires. To us his commands were Vedas, and accepting his udi, sacred ashes, and prasad was all purifying. He was our Sri Krishna and Sri Rama, who gave us solace, and he was our Para Brahma, absolute reality. He was himself beyond the pair of dvandvas, opposites, never dejected nor elated. He was always engrossed in his self, as existence, knowledge, and bliss. Shirdi was his center, but his field of action extended far wide to Punjab, Calcutta, North India, Gujarat, Dhaka, now in Bangladesh, and Konkan. Thus, the fame of Sai Baba spread far and wide, and people from all parts came to take his darshana and be blessed. By mere darshan, minds of people, whether for pure or impure, would become at once quiet. They got here the same sort of unparalleled joy that devotees get at Pandharpur by seeing Vittal Rakumai. This is not an exaggeration. Consider what a devotee says in this respect. Dictum of Gauli Buva. The old devotee by name Gauli Buva, aged about 95 years, was a Varkari of Pandari. He stayed 8 months at Pandharpur and 4 months, Ashada to Kartik, July to November, on the banks of the Ganga river. He had a donkey with him for carrying his luggage and a disciple as his companion. Every year he made his vari or trip to Pandharpur and came to Shirdi to see Sai Baba, whom he loved most. He used to stare at Baba and say, "This is Pandharinath, Vittal incarnate, the merciful Lord of the poor and helpless." This Gauli Buva was an old devotee of Vittoba and had made many a trip to Pandari, and he testified that Sai Baba was the real Pandarinath. Vittal himself appeared. Sai Baba was very fond of remembering and singing God's name. He always uttered Allah Malik, God is Lord, and his presence made others sing God's name continuously, day and night, for 7 days. This is called Nama Saptaha. Once he asked Kaka Sahib Dikshit to do the Nama Saptaha. He replied that he would do it, provided he was assured that Vittal would appear at the end of the 7th day. Then Baba, placing his hand on his breast, assured him that certainly Vittal would appear, but that the devotee must be earnest and devout. The Dankapuri, Takore of Takurnath, the Pandari of Vittal, the Dwarka of Krishna, is here, Shirdi. One needs not to go far out to see Dwarka. Will Vittal come here from outside place? He is here. Only when the devotee is bursting with love and devotion, Vittal will manifest himself here in Shirdi. After the Saptaha was done, Vittal did manifest himself in the following manner. Kaka Sahib Dikshit was as usual sitting in meditation after the bath, and he saw Vittal in a vision when he went at noon for Baba's darshana. Baba asked him point blank, "Did Vittal Patil come? Did you see him? He is a very truant fellow. Catch him firmly, otherwise he will escape if you be a little inattentive." This happened in the morning, and at noon there was another Vittal darshana. One hawker from outside came there, selling 25 or 30 pictures of Vithoba. The picture exactly tallied with the figure that appeared in Kaka Sahib's vision. On seeing this and remembering Baba's words, Kaka Sahib Dikshit was much surprised and delighted. He bought one picture of Vithoba and placed it in his shrine for worship. Bhagavan Story. How fond was Baba for Vittal's worship was illustrated in Bhagavan Story. The father of Bhagavan was a devotee of Vithoba and used to make varis, annual trips, to Pandharpur. He also had an image of Vithoba at home, which he worshipped. After his death, the son stopped everything, the vari, the worship, the Shraddha ceremony, etc. When Bhagavan came to Shirdi, Baba, on remembering his father, at once said, "His father was my friend, so I dragged him, the son, here. He never offered Naivedya, offering of food, so he starved Vittal and me, so I brought him here. I shall remonstrate him now and set him to worship." Das Ganu's bath in Prayag. The Hindus think that a bath in the holy Tirth of Prayag, where the Ganga and Yamuna meet, is very meritorious, and thousands of pilgrims go there at periodical times to have the sacred bath there. Once Das Ganu thought that he could go to Prayag for a bath, and came to Baba to get his permission for doing so. Baba replied to him, "It is not necessary to go so long. Our Prayag is here, believe me." Then wonders of wonders, when Das Ganu placed his head on Baba's feet, out came or flowed streams of Ganga, Yamuna river, both from the toes of Baba. Seeing this miracle, Das Ganu was overwhelmed with a feeling of love and adoration and was full of tears. Inwardly, he felt inspired, and his speech burst forth into a song in praise of Baba and his Leelas. Immaculate conception of Sai Baba in his first advent in Shirdi. Nobody knew his parents, birthplace of Sai Baba. Many inquiries were made, many questions were put to Baba and others regarding these items, but no satisfactory answer or information has yet been obtained. Practically, we know nothing about these matters. Namdev and Kabir were not born like ordinary mortals. They were found as infants in mother of pearls. Namdev being found on the bank of Bimrati river by Ganayi, and Kabir on the bank of Bhagirathi river by Tamil. Similar was the case with Sai Baba. He first manifested himself as a young lad of 16 under a neem tree in Shirdi for the sake of bhaktas. Even then he seemed to be full with the knowledge of Brahman. He had no desire for worldly objects, even in dream. He kicked out Maya, and Mukti, deliverance, was serving at his feet. One old woman of Shirdi, the mother of Nana Kopardar, described him thus: "This young lad, fair, smart, and very handsome, was first seen under the neem tree, seated in an asan. The people of the village were wonderstruck to see such a young lad practicing hard penance, not minding heat and cold. By whence this young chap had turned up, his form features were so beautiful that a mere look endeared him to all. He went to nobody's door, always sat near the neem tree. Outwardly he looked very young, but his actions, he was really a great soul. He was the embodiment of dispassion and an enigma to all. One day it so happened that God Kandoba possessed the body of some devotee, and people began to ask him, Deva, you please inquire what blessed father's son is this lad, and whence did he come? God Kandoba asked them to bring a pickaxe and dig into a particular place. When it was dug, bricks were found underneath the flat stone. When the stone was removed, a corridor led to a cellar, where cow-mouth-shaped structures, wooden boards, and necklaces were seen. Kandoba said, "This lad practiced penance here for 12 years. Then the people began to question the lad about this. He put them off the scent by telling them that this was his guru's place, his holy watan, and requested them to guard it well. The people then closed the corridor as before, as Ashwatha and Audumpar trees were sacred. Baba regarded this neem tree equally sacred and loved it most. Malla Sapati and other Shirdi devotees regard this site as the resting place of Baba's guru and prostrate before it. Threewadas. The site with the neem tree and surrounding space was bought by Mr. Hari Vinayak Sate, and on the site is a big building styled Sate's Wada was erected. This Wada was the sole resting place for pilgrims who flocked there. A par platform was built around the neem tree, and lofts with steps were constructed. Under the steps there is a niche facing south, and devotees sit on the par platform facing north. It is believed that he who burns incense there on Thursdays and Friday evenings will, by God's grace, be happy. This Wada was old and dilapidated and went repairs. And Sansthan has made the necessary repairs, additions, and alterations. 2. Then, after some years, another Wada, Dikshit's Wada, was constructed. Kaka Sahib Dikshit, Soul Sitter of Bombay, had gone to England. He had injured his leg by an accident there. The injury could not be gotten rid of by any means. Nana Sahib Chandorkar advised him to try Sai Baba. So he saw Sai Baba in 1901 AD, requested him to cure rather the lameness of his mind than that of his leg. He was so much pleased with the darshan of Sai Baba that he decided to reside in Shirdi, so he built a wada for himself and other devotees. The foundation of this building was laid on 10/12/1910. On this day, two other important events took place. One, Mr. Dada Sahib Kaparde was given permission to return to his home, and two, the night Arati in Chavadi was commenced. The Wada was complete and inhabited on the Ramanavami day in 1911 AD, with due rites and formalities. 3, of money spent on this building, but the entire amount was well utilized, as Sai Baba's body is resting in this Wada, which is now called the Samadhi Mandir. The site of this mandir had formerly a garden, which was watered and looked after by Baba. 3 Wadas thus sprung up, where there was none formerly. Of these, Satya Wada was the most useful of all in the early days. The story of the garden, attended to by Sai Baba with the help of Vaman Tatya, the temporary absence of Sai Baba from Shirdi, and his coming again to Shirdi with the marriage party of Chand Patil, the company of Devadas, Janki Das, and Ganga Gir, Baba's wrestling match with Mohdin Tamboli, residence in masjid, love of Mr. Dengale, and other devotees, and other incidents will be described in the next chapter. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be to all.